and the familiar rhythm of pre-event preparation. She had worked events like this 100 times. She moved through them on autopilot. She was carrying a tray of champagne flutes into the main hall when she looked up and saw Alexander. Not the man from the corner coffee shop. This version of Alexander. The one in the perfectly cut charcoal suit surrounded by people in equally expensive clothes, accepting a handshake from a silver-haired man with the casual ease of someone completely at home in rooms like this. She stopped so suddenly that the glasses shifted on the tray. He hadn't seen her yet. Her mind did the math quickly. The coat she had assumed was just a nice coat. The way he talked about his work and described an apartment with a view of the whole city. The way he sometimes paused before answering questions, as if he was choosing words that didn't reveal too much. She had been having morning conversations with someone who had clearly been leaving out a significant portion of his life. She turned before he could see her and walked back toward the service corridor. But someone else had already seen both of them. Madison Clark, who had accompanied Eleanor as a +1 to this event, had been watching the room with the practiced eye of someone who always watches rooms. She had seen Emily stop. She had seen Emily's face. And she had watched, very carefully, as Emily disappeared through a service door. She picked up her phone and opened a notes app and typed one short sentence. Then she smiled, dropped the phone back in her clutch, and went to find a fresh glass of champagne. But what Madison was planning, nobody in that room could have anticipated. And what Emily did next, the choice she made in that service corridor, would set off a chain reaction that nobody would be able to stop. Emily told herself to let it go. She got through the event. She served and cleared and moved through the room with practiced invisibility, and if her hands weren't quite steady, nobody noticed. She caught sight of Alexander twice more during the evening, once laughing with a group near the bar, once deep in quiet conversation with a woman in a red dress who stood close to him in the deliberate way of someone marking territory. Emily didn't know who Victoria Harrington was, but she recognized that posture. She drove home on the subway, staring at the dark window of the train and thinking hard. The next morning, she was at the corner. She almost hadn't come. She'd had the thought, somewhere around 2 in the morning, that the easiest thing would be to stop coming. To let this whole thing dissolve quietly before it became something she didn't know how to hold. But she came. He was already there. He saw her face, and he knew immediately that something had shifted. "You were at the Meridian last night," she said. It wasn't a question. A pause. A small one, but she caught it. "Yes." "You work in finance," she said. "Or something like it." "Yes." "What's your last name, Alexander?" He looked at her for a moment, and then, quietly, "Knight." She absorbed this. "Knight Enterprises," she said. "Yes." She looked away, toward the street, and he watched her work through whatever she was working through. He didn't rush her. He didn't fill the silence with explanations. He just waited, which was, without him knowing it, exactly the right thing to do. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked finally. "Because I wanted you to keep talking to me the way you were talking to me," he said. "And I was afraid you'd stop." It was the most honest thing he had said to anyone in years. Emily looked back at him. He looked, in that moment, so unlike everything she had seen at the Meridian the night before. No room full of people around him, no careful performance, just a person standing on a sidewalk being uncomfortably, nakedly honest. She sighed. "That's a terrible reason," she said. "I know." And somehow not a complete surprise. She picked up her coffee cup. "The way you talk about your life. You never say the actual things. You describe everything from the outside." He felt that. "I should have told you sooner," he said. "You should have," she agreed. She didn't walk away. She stayed, and they talked for a long time on that corner, longer than usual, and by the end of it something had shifted. Not backward, but forward. Like a layer had been stripped away, and what remained was more honest, and therefore more fragile, and therefore more real. What Alexander didn't know was that Madison had spent the previous evening doing research. Emily Stone was not hard to find. Her nonprofit was listed publicly. Her social media, limited as it was not private. By the time Alexander was standing on that corner making his confession, Madison had a complete profile, her address in Queens, her brother's school, her mother's death, her 2 jobs. Madison brought this information to Eleanor Knight over breakfast the next morning. She presented it gently, concerned. As a cousin who cared about the family, Eleanor listened without expression. When Madison finished, Eleanor set down her coffee cup very carefully. "Thank you," she said. Her voice was perfectly calm. That was, somehow, the most frightening version of Eleanor Knight. The one who went very still and very quiet. Eleanor moved quickly. She arranged a dinner for the following Saturday. Formal. At the family estate outside the city. She told Alexander it was a pre-gala family dinner, which was not entirely untrue. What she didn't tell him was that she had also invited Victoria and her parents, and Madison, and 3 other couples from their inner circle who would function, whether they knew it or not, as an audience. Alexander arrived to find the dining room set for 16. He looked at the table. He looked at Victoria, already seated, who gave him a smile that was precisely calibrated. He looked at Madison, who raised her glass in a small, private toast that he didn't understand. And he understood, suddenly, what this was. He took his seat. The dinner proceeded through its courses with the smooth momentum of something that had been choreographed. His father made remarks about the future of Knight Enterprises. Patricia Harrington responded with remarks about the Harrington Group. The word merger was used 4 times in the first hour, always in the context of business, always carrying the second meaning like an undercurrent. His mother, at one point, looked directly at him and said, "We've been so looking forward to finalizing some long-standing plans. It's time, I think, to stop letting things drift." The table laughed lightly. Alexander didn't laugh. He looked at Victoria, who was watching him with those careful, measuring eyes. She was beautiful. She was appropriate. She was, by every metric his parents had ever given him, exactly right. He thought about a worn jacket and a granola bar sliding across a sidewalk. He thought about terrible chairs, an extraordinary pie, and a woman who sang without caring who heard. He thought about being asked, simply and directly, why he described his life from the outside. "I need some air," he said, and excused himself. He walked out onto the terrace and stood looking at the dark grounds of the estate, and he took out his phone, and without fully deciding to, he typed a message. "I need to tell you something. Can we talk tomorrow?" Emily's reply came 3 minutes later. "I'll be at the corner." He stood there in the cold for another few minutes, and then he went back inside. He sat through the rest of the dinner. He smiled when required. He said nothing that committed him to anything. But inside, something had been decided. He didn't have the words for it yet. He didn't have a plan. He just knew, with the certainty of someone who has spent 5 years ignoring what they actually feel, that he was done ignoring. That was when everything changed. The morning after the dinner, Alexander met Emily at the corner. He told her everything this time. The real everything. The company. His parents. The orchestrated dinner. Victoria. The plan that his entire family had built around him like a beautiful, suffocating structure that he had never agreed to but had never fought against either. Emily listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. The city moved around them. A cab honked. A delivery truck rumbled past. "So what do you want?" she asked. "I think you know what I want," he said. She looked at him. Those clear, direct eyes. "Alexander," she said carefully, "people like your family don't just accept this kind of thing. You understand that, right? This isn't something that quietly works itself out. I know. I have a brother to think about. I have a life that's already hard. I can't." She stopped. Started again. "I'm not afraid of hard things. But I need to know you're not going to disappear when it gets difficult." "I'm not going anywhere," he said. She studied him for a long time. And then she nodded. Slowly. Once. Neither of them saw the car parked half a block down the street, or the woman sitting in the back seat behind tinted glass, watching them with her phone already raised, taking photographs. Madison Clark had been there since 6:30 that morning. And what she planned to do with those photographs would detonate inside Alexander's world like something none of them were ready for. Part 2 coming soon, because the real storm hadn't even started yet.